The Governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, says a judicial panel of inquiry would be set up to probe the finances of the state prior to his assumption of office. Governor Fubara gave the hint at the swearing-in of Mr. Dagogo Iboroma as the new Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice of the state at Government House. The governor noted that the new Attorney General is coming in at a critical time, that the state is involved in many legal matters. Governor Fubara lamented the inability of both warring groups to find a peaceful way out of the political crisis. The governor also attributed his emergence as governor to divine intervention and not a mistake as claimed by his predecessor, Mr. Wike.
Dagogo Iboroma, you're going to be the brand new Attorney General of our dear state. Why are we bringing you at this very critical time? We have a lot of issues around us. As it is today, in the local parliament, they said the jungle has matured. We will be setting a panel of inquiry to investigate the affair of governance. I wish that were, because even if it's a mistake, by the special grace of God, I'm here today.
Yes. Not a mistake.
God doesn't make mistakes.
Meanwhile, the faction of the Rivers State House of Assembly loyal to Governor Siminalayi Fubara has screened and confirmed the commissioner nominee. The legislative duties was conducted in the Government House in Port Harcourt. We have details in this report.
This is the first direct challenge to the Martin Amehule-led group of members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. They are here to receive Governor Siminalayi Fubara's commissioner nominee for screening. The agenda for this sitting clears any doubt about which of the groups the governor considers as legitimate.
All those in favor that Iboroma Dagogo SAN should be confirmed as a commissioner in the Rivers State Executive Council, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it.
While answering questions about his qualification, Mr. Dagogo Iboroma said he can excel in any portfolio assigned to him.
At the point we were confirmed, we took an oath of loyalty to the government of Nigeria. By extension, that oath applies to the Rivers State government and the people of Rivers State. Thank you, sir.
But the nominee, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria, is seen as a quick replacement for his colleague SAN, who resigned from the position of Commissioner for Justice and Attorney General.
All right, joining me in the studio is lawyer, public affairs analyst, Fred Nzako. Fred, good morning. It's good to have you join us.
Good morning. Good morning.
Now, it seems like every day there is always one issue, one drama, as it is, with regards to the issue coming out of Rivers State. Just yesterday, we saw the governor swearing in a new Attorney General for the state and Commissioner for Justice, and he said that jungle has matured and that they were going to probe the activities of the previous administration. Talk to us what you interpret by that statement he made, talking about jungle has matured and his decision to probe.
What is going on in Rivers State has gone beyond drama. It has become a macabre dance of shame. It has become a very huge shame to democracy and democratic principles and tenets. And it is those who are outside Nigeria will be wondering, and they'll be worried about what is going on in Rivers State. And because Rivers has always been in the news, because of its position as oil-producing state, it has always been in the news. And one of the states that were created in 1967, others, apart from Lagos, others no longer stand as a single entity called a state. So Rivers is not a new state to non-Nigerians. So when they now watch and see what is going on in that state, it becomes extremely worrisome. What happens in the jungle? The jungle is a place where you have an idea of the jungle when you watch this DSTV program called Nat Geo Wild.
Yes.
Where animals kill and quench one another. That is jungle. So when you say jungle don't mature in a human environment, that means the macabre dance of shame is shifting from shameful political dance to fatality. The same way the lion will hunt the antelope, the snake will hunt the squirrel, and everything in the jungle is kill and quench. And that is what they are trying to bring back to Rivers State. And if it gets to that stage, it will be extremely unquenchable, because for anyone who is brought down, his relations, friends, and associates will want to retaliate, and it becomes a vicious cycle of kill and quench. That statement was not expected from somebody who has the mantle of leadership of a state. No matter how provoked a leader is, a leader must pick and choose the words that he uses. Simi Fubara, as much as the people stand behind him, should not liken Rivers State to a jungle. Yes, it is a local balance, but it has deep-rooted meaning in political annihilation.
Really?
It has deep-rooted meaning in annihilation of the enemy. It has deep-rooted meaning in lack of observance of due process and respect for human dignity, and even by extension, respect for life of people. If Rivers people, blessed enormously by God, allow themselves to turn their state to a jungle, let them go and watch Nat Geo Wild. And similar programs where animals operate in the jungle.
Well,
we have a civilized environment that should not be called a jungle.
Well, the statement is coming on the heels of his calling for a probe, which some Nigerians have said is the right way to go, as
Look,
it is.
What is the probe for? Is it for political vendetta or for the interests of Rivers State?
He wants to probe.
It's obviously for political vendetta.
How so?
Let me tell you, Simi Fubara was the accountant general of the state.
Right.
So he was the one helping Wike to steal Rivers money, and they know where they hide
choice
the money.
of words, because you...
Choice of words, I am taking it from the mouth of Rivers elders.
That money is stolen.
Listen, Rivers elders. I'm quoting Rivers elders.
Right.
That you had even brought to this table that accused the government of stealing the money of Rivers State.
Okay.
So it is not coming from the mouth of Fred and Zako. It is coming from the mouth of elders.
Go ahead and say that it's from Rivers elders, so we know where to look.
Elders of Rivers State that said the state money was stolen. And those who begin to wonder, how did Wike get the kind of money that he has stupendously been throwing around all this while? Recall that at the age of a young age of 30 something, he had, what had Wike achieved as a person outside government? Let us ask him. What? He was made chairman of local government. Okay. He was returned as chairman of local government. He said so himself. He was made chief of staff. From chief of staff, he was appointed minister of state. From minister of state, he came to become the governor of Rivers State for 8 years. Since 1999, he has been in the corridors of power, making money from Rivers State, amassing Rivers wealth. I'm coming.
His dues,
let
salaries?
Let us be honest with ourselves.
Right.
What has been his salary all this while? If there's a probe of his wealth, how is he going to account for the expenses?
So then why are you calling it a witch hunt?
I'm coming. Now, Simi Fubara was his man Friday.
Of course.
When they were dealing with finances of Rivers.
Okay.
He who lives in a glass house
should not throw
stones. That stone he wants to throw, part will land, it will scatter in pebbles. Part will land in Wike's house, and part will land in his house.
Really?
Except if that probe is not genuinely done. Now my question is, are you probing him genuinely? We want to probe. Nobody is against probe. In fact, we have been calling that everybody who steps down from government must be probed. Right. From the councillor, chairman of local government, to the president of the country. Be probed. So you come and give an account of.
So why don't we just allow the probe happen, and then we can
we are now laying the foundation. We are now laying the
not.
foundation that if the probe is intended, in all honesty, for the interest of the finances on governance of Rivers State, it will be Uhuru. But if it is intended to hunt Wike because of what...
Why don't we just wait?
It will not be akin to... of course, we know it now. We are not children. It will not be akin to the issue about demolition of the House of Assembly. That Simi said, oh, the house has lost integrity. He will demolish it.
But there were those,
demolished.
Now he has visited it. Now he has visited the legislative quarters. Everything is okay.
Legislative quarters that was said to be built a few years back. Right. And then there are issues about, is it standing well or not?
Okay.
We should not... Look, DD in democracy stands for development and not demolition.
All right, let's quickly go on a break. When we return, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us. Thank you for joining us. We've been talking about the Rivers State crisis before we went on the break. And joining us again right now is political analyst Ahmed Jaji. Earlier on, we had Fred Nzako, who is still with us in the studio. But welcome, Ahmed Jaji.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Right.
Let me begin with you now, because Fred has spoken a lot with regards to the crisis in Rivers State, especially with regards to the statement made by the governor just yesterday when he was swearing in the Attorney General and the Commissioner for Justice of the state, where he said that jungle has matured and that they are going to have a probe of the previous administration's 8 years before he came in. What's your perception of what he said?
Well, to some of us, we are not surprised because that has been the game of the leadership in quotes of the political class. If it hadn't been because of the misunderstanding between them, will anybody be talking about any probe? And even if you go ahead to probe, if in politics things are not static, they are in a state of flux. Your friend today might be your enemy tomorrow, and day after reverse to the status quo. But what we are saying is our leaders, those who are fortunate to be in governance now, should focus on societal development, not personal aggrandizement or, whimsical feelings and whatever. Whether you probe the previous administration or not is nobody's business. What you are in government for is to develop.
But he is working within his rights.
He's working
within his rights to probe. He can go ahead.
No, I'm not disputing the fact that he has the right to probe or not to probe. But the fact is, the state of the nation today, we don't want to be distracted with personal, issues. Where we want to focus, we want our leaders to focus on development.
So you think his decision is a distraction?
Maybe yes, because if he hadn't had problem with a section of the State House of Assembly, if he hadn't had a problem with some Wike, who has a baggage of his own problems too, nobody will hear about any, probe. But what some of us are saying and insisting is that if you are fortunate to be in leadership position now, especially in Nigeria now, please focus on developmental issues. Whether you probe, even those who have not been probed, those who have been found to be, in quotes, guilty, are busy running around all over the place, dressing women, clothing and whatever. And those who even had been probed before and found guilty, what have
come out of it?
What have come out of it? So Nigerians are tired of those distractions. Focus on developmental issues. What are those issues that will lift an average river person out of the, doldrum. That's my own.
Well, and that is why he said he's going in this direction, because he seems he needs to begin to take on the reins of the state, and, the people must feel the dividends of democracy, why they voted him in, even though he went ahead to make a statement that it is God that brought him in, even if some other persons are saying that they made a mistake as it is to have supported his emergence as governor. So perhaps he wants to begin on the path of probing activities, like we saw even his predecessor, Wike, do to his own predecessor, Rotimi Amechi, at the time, probing the activities of the governor. But the issues, talking about the state of assembly, like he rightly pointed, and you also spoke to before we went on the break, talking about how it is that there were integrity issues with that house where they were, that building or structure where they were. Some members of the APC at the, I think, National Assembly went there to investigate and check what it was, and they saw that everything, according to them, was intact as it is. Do you think that this matter?
You mean the legislative quarters?
Yes, they went to check. Yes, some days ago, and found out that because they went in with some experts to check about the integrity of the structure. Do you think that this matter is something that the handling of this matter is something that both parties really need to address and put in mind the people of the state at the heart of it? Recall that the president had stepped in at some point at the beginning, and they both agreed to the agenda that was set by the president. But the dimensions things are taking, especially with regards to the legislature, is something that is concerning because of the provisions of the Constitution as it is. We saw that a speaker had emerged, even though they had about 4 persons or so, or 3 of them. And there are those who are saying that 4 persons cannot adjudicate on the issues of the state.
You have brought in so many issues in the same question, Victoria. But let me just quickly
Take
tell
them
you.
one after the
Yeah,
other.
let me tell you that if he says that it was God that brought him, everybody in power was given authority by God. But God didn't buy his form. And God did not campaign for him. Somebody bought his form. Somebody campaigned for him. Somebody stood strongly behind him. And somebody ensured that over and above all other contenders, that he emerged. So they should stop using the name of God in vain. The Bible is against it. And then they should play their politics. And if you now begin to say, oh, that the probe is within his right, no argument about that. He's within his right. In fact, we call on all others to probe others. For every government that has existed and left, it should be probed. Because even in small associations of our relation, in our small CDAs,
yes,
they probe. No, you may not call it probe. Give account of your stewardship. There's nothing wrong with it. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with it. So you should not make a mountain out of a molehill and begin to make it a very big issue. It is not. It is within his right. Let him go ahead. But the underlying reason behind the probe is what has become questionable. And that is what I agree with my brother here, that it has become questionable. Why have you instituted the probe? If there was no problem, would there have been probe? Now, Mr. President delved into their matter. Many people have, on account of that, unduly bad-mouthed Mr. President, that he wouldn't have, or that he sided one side, that he supported Wike because they are close in Abuja and because Wike is his man Friday, and then they were serving him as a minister. But Mr. President couldn't have kept quiet when a major part of the country is sinking in crisis, political crisis. And when they now came out from that meeting, nobody has told us the truth about what transpired. I said so advisedly because the cacophony of issues that we kept hearing, the cacophony of different opinions that we kept hearing indicated that possibly there was more to it than ordinarily meet the eye.
Right.
But the little we have seen, has Simi Fubara not handled the matter the way and manner he was asked to? Those who defected to APC were allowed to come back. even Martin Amewule, was returned to his seat as Speaker. The commissioners who resigned were all brought back. What else did you expect him to do? And what is that estate of Wike that Simi Fubara is destroying in rivers? That is a critical question. He said, oh, he is dismantling his structure. Did he demolish his house? Did he abandon, drive away his family members? What structure did Wike build that Sim Fubara was dismantling? That the whole river state, a state of over 3.5 million people, will be in turbulence on account of two men who used to be friends and now foes. Would political disagreement translate to demolition of the state? So, I stood by Mr. President in his attempt. His attempt may be political, but those who say it is one-sided, I do not know, because I don't have all the details. But at least I know that from the information we got thereafter in the media, that Sim Fubara had kept his own side of the bargain. Now, what is the problem? Why has rivers now turned to such a jungle? Who is causing it? And that is why many people are asking Mr. President to call Mr. Wike to order. Wike himself, in not one time, but several times, said and even swore that he will never, never disturb the person who will come after him. He gave an instance that Odili was governor, he never disturbed anybody. Amechi was governor, he never disturbed anybody. Before Odili Rufus had a judge. In 1992, who Odili was the deputy governor, Rufus had a judge, never disturbed anybody. That he will never, never disturb the man who will come after him. What is happening today? He is now claiming that the man is dismantling his structure. And I ask again, which structure? Wike was the one who said they don't know the Lagos. When he was trying to dismantle the pseudo-phantom structure of Adesam Shomole in Edo State, when he was supporting Obaseki. Right. He now brought that slogan, I don't know the Lagos, and was badmouthing President Bola Tinubu then, as well as Bola Tinubu, who was not a president then, that the way he did it in Lagos, that it cannot be done in River State. The rivers are different. What is happening today? Tinubu has now proven to be a master, which Wike should learn from. If Tinubu has been managing, now you can no longer call it handling. You can call it managing, in quote. He has been managing Lagos since 1999 till date. We should go and ask him, bend down and learn from him. How have you been doing that without crisis? When there was issue between Tinubu and Ambode, was it not handled well? When there was issue between Tinubu and Fashola, was it not handled well? Did Tinubu break down the House of Assembly of Lagos State because he wanted to bring Fashola to obey? Now, some charlatans have now come out in their numbers to be singing, Simi must obey Wike, Simi must obey Wike. I pity the people of River State who don't know that their house is being set on fire. I pity them. But they should all speak in one voice and they condemn the attitudes of these two men, Sim Fubara and Nyesom Wike. Right. If they had any problem, they should go and solve their problems and leave the people of River State alone.
They have elders.
Democracy stands for development, not demolition or destruction. Right. That D in democracy is for development, not demolition or destruction. Right. The people of River State will hear this.
Absolutely. And I know they know that. But they have elders in River State. Edwin Clark is one of them who wrote a letter to the Inspector General of Police asking for intervention in all that is going on and also called on even the president to look into the matter. Let's get your perception of how these elders have tried to rein in on what is going on.
Is it like he Radley took us back to the activities of Nyesom Wike prior to he becoming the minister and whatever, and to those who are even criticizing the president? I think the president is behaving, and according to Pericles, an ancient writer of Greek genre, eternal vigilance is the price to pay for liberty. I was a small boy during the crisis in Western Nigeria, which didn't affect other parts of Nigeria. But those who staged the coup in 1966, they used that crisis in Western Nigeria, as a justifiable excuse apart from their 10%, song, to take over the governance of the country. And we know where it has landed Nigeria till 1999. So if the president, in his own wisdom, decided to, wade into a festering problem that can be used as an excuse by those who are ambitious, nobody should blame him for it. And you see, a political party, according to our own understanding, is the collection of men and women of the same idea who have the same attitudinal disposition to the fortune of their country. Wike is not a member of the APC as I'm talking to you now.
Right.
And the governor that is quarreling with is not a member of the APC as I'm talking to you now. But if the president should fold his arm that I'm not bothered, they don't belong to my party, he must have failed as a statesman. It's only politicians that will think of the next election, according to George Pompidou, a former president of France. Statesmen think of generations yet to come, not necessarily of human beings, but, the future. And to that extent, if he had been able to take the step, and Chief Edwin Clark now urging the Inspector General to take over, Inspector General takes order from somebody. And that somebody happened to be the president, who had shown what he wanted done, which some charlatans, as he put it, are now misinterpreting, and they want to use it, to foster problem. As we are sitting down now, there are precedents that can be followed. When it happened in Edo State, Philip Shuaibu, he knows where he is today. We know what the governor did to him. And if the present Rivers State governor is trying to do the same thing, if he is allowed to get away with it, because I know, as a political scientist, that there is a concept known as separation of powers.
Absolutely.
So for him to now say he's taking everything to government house and whatever, it shouldn't be so. But I'm afraid the judiciary in Nigeria today, are they dispensing justice or judgments? Because if there should be strict obedience of separation of powers, he hasn't got any business with what happens in the State House of Assembly. As the president hasn't got business with what happened in the National Assembly. But you see, parties strive to have majority in the legislature simply because they want to have seamless, implementation of their policies. Are policies now being implemented in Rivers State, or interpersonality struggle that he rightly put it is not disturbing the rest of the society, and nobody can say Rivers State is not an important state in Nigeria.
All states are important.
No, some are more important
than the other.
Absolutely.
It's sad, but that is the reality.
Absolutely.
Today, Nigeria hasn't got any other commodity we can call our own. We say we are mono economy. Where is the mono economy coming from? Is it not Rivers State? And the president will now sit down with his arms akimbo and say whatever they do to themselves, now them sabi. It cannot be so. So the elders that are coming into the fray now, we want to know the role they are playing behind the scene. We are all Nigerians. We know how we do.
You think they have a role they are playing behind the scene?
I believe so. I'm a politician.
Right.
I know the intrigues involving such things. But for the sake of the ordinary River State person, whether man or woman or child, we should let our conscience be our judge. Because when you leave the scene, others are coming after you. There was Odili, the man that was the court judge that nobody has got any right to go into, they say perpetual injunction, according to lawyers.
Well, it has been vacated by Court of Appeal. Many Nigerians don't know it.
We don't know it. I don't know. I'm just hearing about it.
It has been vacated.
Odili was there. He had his time. Everybody enjoyed him. Followed by Rotimi Amici. And we all witnessed what happened to Rotimi when he was there. we knew the role played by this same Nyesom Wike as a minister, a state minister for education, and later, you know, and is now a minister for FCT, and he now calls himself governor of FCT. But those are not necessary now. What we are interested in is we want to have a peaceful atmosphere where development can take place. And we will pray we achieve it.
Right. That's why we're having this conversation. There's something he mentioned that I'd like for you to weigh in on, the role of the elders. He talked about behind the scene. You know, some Nigerians want to understand, you know, that aspect of behind the scene. You think that they might be contributing to what is going on in the state?
The others had gone to court, and the court told them that they are meddlesome interlopers, that they have no locus standi to look into the matter. They are not participants. They are not participants in the matter. The others had gone on appeal to say, you can't tell us so because our state is burning. That on that side of the law, the elders are doing their best. On the side of politics, because this is a political matter. They are pursuing it on the side of law. They also pursuing it on the side of politics. If you now want to remain on the side of law, the issue now is the 27 members of the House of Assembly that defected to APC, are they still members of the House?
Well, the speaker that is supposed to pronounce their seat vacant was part of those that walked away.
The speaker that pronounced their seat vacant?
That was supposed to.
No, when they left, the other speaker, not Martin, Edison here, now pronounced their seat vacant. When there were only 4 or 5 of them.
Right.
You remember the 4 or 5 that now looked into their budget and then passed the Appropriation Act of Bill of 2024. Today, 1 has left, has become the chief of staff, that is Edison. They have now left with 3 members. Democracy is in coma in Rivers State because the bulwark, the bastion, the foundation of democracy is anchored on the people. Government of the people, for the people, and by the people. There is no definition that can be better than that, as propounded by Abraham Lincoln. No definition of democracy can be better than that. Where are the people in all of this? Now, out of 31 members, we have now 3 or 4 left. It is that same 3 or 4 that has approved their appointment of, they approved the budget, they have approved the appointment of the commissioners. Now, the others that left is an issue of law because Section 109(1) of our Constitution, subsection G, is very explicit on that. And there are other Supreme Court judgments that also give truth to that issue. Where is the law in all of this? The argument now is that those who left, that you don't declare them until the court declares them. That's the argument of the APC side. The PDP side says, once you have left, your seat has become vacant. The decision of the court will only be to either return you or to affirm the vacancy of your seat. Now, politicians are now interpreting the law. They are now interpreting the Constitution the way it suits them. My worry is the speed of justice in Nigeria is very slow. In matters of such urgency, I expected that the judiciary will rise to the occasion and redirect the politicians. Look, every time they say the judiciary is our problem, anybody who said so is not being honest. The politicians will generate the problem, make it to fester, and hang it on the judiciary to solve for them. Pure and simple. Now, the judiciary will now leave every other thing they were doing to begin to crack their head to solve the problem generated by politicians. Fine. You can say that is their work, and that is the way the Constitution has anticipated it. In this case, what is the pronouncement of the court? None yet. We expected that interpretation If not for political manipulations and all the behind-the-scene maneuvers.
That's what has held INEC back?
That is
because
what...
there are those
no, INEC,
the case has been put before
yes.
INEC has not responded.
INEC is waiting for the court to pronounce before they begin to spend money to conduct the election. They don't want to spend money and energy and effort, send their staff to conduct the election, and the election will be nullified by the court. You can't blame INEC in that regard. The judiciary is that what we are expecting them to give a timeous judgment. But there are manipulations and maneuverings behind the scene that is tending to slow the wheel
of justice.
And that is political manipulation. That is tending to slow the wheel of justice. But we want to urge the judiciary to firm itself up and run away from those shackles and dispense justice. Let us know the position of those men.
What will be justice in this case, in your perspective?
In my perspective, the justice in this case will be the interpretation of Section 109 of the Constitution. In other cases where the Supreme Court had interpreted, where the Supreme Court had given judgment, the moment you leave that your seat and go to another party, your seat has become vacant.
Please rephrase it.
That is what
the moment you join.
The moment you join another party. That's what I mean. The moment you leave your political party that brought you to power, according to the provision of the Constitution, your seat has become vacant. Right. That is what the Supreme Court said. So those who are trying to interpret it the way and manner it suits them are only trying to derail that justice from coming.
Perhaps this is why some persons say that the move by these 27 lawmakers, that they were ill-advised.
And sorry, Victoria, let me add this caveat so that people do not misunderstand what I'm saying. There's a proviso that if there is crisis in your party, or if your party has merged with another party, then you are now free to go. The question now is there crisis in PDP that warranted their moving to APC, or did PDP merge with another party that warranted their movement to APC?
They had internal crisis.
They had no internal crisis in Rivers.
Right.
They had no internal crisis in Abuja. Only the secretary of the party was struggling to retain his seat.
Isn't that crisis enough?
It's not a crisis. It's not a crisis.
It's not?
It's not.
Okay.
You see, I believe you are a lawyer, sir.
Yes, I am.
Okay, that's good. You see, the whole thing boils down to definition of what constitutes a political party, which I briefly described earlier on.
Yeah.
Coming together of men and women of the same, mindset, attitudinal disposition to how the country will move or their society will move. And now, if you look at it, that's a party. A party is not on its own. It's constituted by human beings. And within this interpretation, and I was amused when a very prominent legal luminary declared magisterially that the 27 Rivers State legislators, they've lost their seats.
Which is also...
The question is, do we have crisis
in the party?
In the party? That is PDP. Who constitutes the party in Rivers State? Are we talking of the leadership or the rank and file that don't have any say, especially in Nigeria?
Right.
So we want to believe that the moment Wike disagrees with the governor of the state, there's a crisis. And whether we want to believe it or not, only God makes man whatever he wants him to be. But we don't know God. He uses human beings. It pleased God to make Rotimi Amechi Wike what he was as a governor. It pleases God to make Liaison Wike to make the present governor Fubara what he is because of their big influence on the activities of the party. So if there is disagreement between the two of them, ipso facto, you cannot hide away, you cannot run away from the reality. And now you say 27 out of 34.
Out of 31. Also, I think it's 31.
People constituting the
State Assembly.
The State Assembly, 27, had already moved over to another party, citing disagreements within their party, whether the interpretation I gave it has legal backing or not, but to an ordinary person, we know what it meant. So as it is now, it has now become very, very funny that out of 31, only 4 people, and now 3 people are now sitting down to make a legislative whatever pronouncements in Rivers State, pass budget, and whatever. I think something is very, very wrong. And I support what he said. The will of justice in this country is deliberately being made to be very, very slow. We had a case of a governor that was found to have, dirty things in his baggage. The case was in court for 12 years. And at the end of the day, the man was freed. Who is fooling who? So the interpretation now being given to this issue makes, the legal angle very, very funny. So when the legal luminary, because I don't want to be sued, on Saturday made that final pronouncement that they have lost it cannot be. It's only in Nigeria that you see the leadership of legislature will say they are suspending people that we voted for in our constituency. It's not your right to suspend our representation wherever they are. But this is Nigeria, anything goes. But so as far as the law depends on the interpretation of individuals, but the courts have the final say. And are the courts attending to the matter as expeditiously as expected of them? Some of us are now joking that, the woman carrying the scale of justice, the clothes
covering her eye
is no more dark. They are now using nylon, so she can see
through
clearly, and that is why we are having this kind of. And we are saying we don't have judgments we don't have justice in Nigeria. Judicial pronouncements are colored.
So, like I asked him, what would be justice in this matter?
What will be justice is for the courts to wade in and attend to those issues that have been brought before them. Is it proper for a set of people to deprive me my representation in the legislature? They don't want us to look at that angle. And when you say majority carries
the vote,
27 against 3,
right,
you are now saying they have. The governor said they've all lost.
Lost their seat.
Who gave him the power to make that judgment when we have separation of powers? So these are things that must be expeditiously attended to for the enlightenment of, people like us that are not legally trained or legally minded. So that's the request.
It's good that Chief closed on this note. He has exonerated himself completely, from the issues of law. So Chief delved so much into the issue of law, but I agree with him that there is need for
clarity.
One, clarity, expeditious attention to be given to matters of urgent national importance. Yes. This is one of them, and that the will of justice must be made to move faster than the way it's moving today, made worse by political manipulations and undercurrent handlings of issues. But the question you asked, I come back to it again. There's a precedence. Law feeds on precedents.
Right.
The Supreme Court has made a pronouncement. What did the Supreme Court say? Good. In Cross River, and in another state in Southwest, I think it was Ekiti. The Supreme Court made a pronouncement that in accordance with Section 109 sub 1G,
yes,
that the moment you decamp from the party that elected you,
with a caveat,
I gave you the flag,
with a caveat,
when there is no crisis in the party,
well, you
don't manufacture crisis in your own imagination. Chief is imagining crisis. Disagreement between Wike
and Fubara
does not amount to crisis in the party. It does not.
Really?
So
we now have to look at the definition of crisis.
Yes, because we have to look at the definition of crisis. When there is crisis in a political party, INEC is involved. When you now begin to say there is faction A, faction B, or faction C, which one has INEC recognized? And when there is confusion in recognition, because INEC is the mother that nurtures political parties by law.
Superintendent.
That superintends the affairs of political parties. The organization, the authority that has oversight function over political parties in Nigeria is INEC. So if INEC does not recognize crisis in the party, the court will be listening to INEC. INEC, what did you say? If INEC says, yes, there was crisis, the court will say, yes, there was crisis. Don't forget that even after election, the tribunals will always look at the INEC forms and the INEC result, administered result sheet in determining who has won the election. So nobody is taking away that authority from INEC. So nobody can come now as a politician and define what crisis is in your own imagination and move at will. You have become the court. You have become the court unto yourself. You have become a court unto yourself.
Okay, because we are inching towards ending this conversation. So what do you see at the end of the day, how this matter can be resolved? The political way out? What do you think? Do you think that the courts is still the way out of this crisis that the state is facing?
You see, it's very, very funny. Like what we have been examining as political scientists, there is a separation of powers. Yes. But in practice, these people, they work hand in hand. When the court gives a judgment, can the court execute the judgment? It takes the executive that has the control of coercive powers of the state to assist in implementing the judgment. So when the two are at variance, the court can give whatever, judgment it deems fit, and to every reasonable person.
Right.
But you see, in political party, things are not seen that way.
All right.
Whether we like it or not, the governor, Fubara, is that the name?
Fubara
is a faction. Is leading a faction.
Okay.
Wike is leading a faction. So we cannot run away from that reality.
Quickly, political solution, what is the way out? Quickly, yes or no? Our time is up.
The way they are now, political solution may not work.
Okay.
Legal and judicial solution is what should work.
All right.
Let us respect the law and the rule of law.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, because that's the place we'll leave this conversation. Now, public affairs analyst and lawyer Fred Nzako, as well as political analyst Ahmed Jaji. Thank you for your time on the program.